Hey all, Toves here, playing some more Planet Zoo. So this has been much waited for by me and a bunch of people, and obviously it's just come out fairly recently. I put a few videos out a while ago on the beta, but yeah, I've done a bit of work on this and I've been playing behind the scenes and forgetting to record, or recording and not doing the editing. And this is actually my avatar, so I'm pretending that it's... I managed to catch him in the queue for something, which I'll show you in another episode, but I thought it'd be... Oh, that's it, he's gone. Anyway, so we are looking at today... I'm just going to do a little kind of intro to the start of my zoo. So I did if you saw any of my beta videos, I did this... got lots of issues with servers at the moment, which is a little bit frustrating. But yeah, I did this kind of similar big, what do you call this, Plaza Entrance in the beta, and I sort of replicated it and actually pulled across one of my workshop buildings from that. So I'm not going to dwell on this for too long, but this is my entrance area. Lots of work to do on it. What we're looking at today is my animal hospital. So we're going to mainly jump to a speed build, and I'll talk you through what this is all about. Okay, so the idea behind this was basically just like a staff building. So the idea was to have somewhere sort of central that I could put my quarantined animals and my animals that needed kind of an emergency attention. So I noticed quite a few times the best way, if you have an animal with an issue, is usually it's like they've got a problem getting fed, or they just can't get to the thing that you're trying to feed them or something. So the idea behind this was to have like a facility that I could put them in, that they could get immediate attention, and that they could have more kind of directly staff that are on hand immediately to deal with their issues. So we're building up the building. Timelapse is licking along rather speedily. So this was me just creating the structure. You have to, a quick tip for this is basically you have to put the paths in, stack the paths up, and then and the actual facilities, and then build the building around it. It's an interesting little bit. So I was trying to actually get the habitat gate to work like a gate. I'm pretty sure you should be able to do this. There is a checkbox there. If you sit down in the right corner, habitat perimeter. It's by default it's checked, but you can't seem to uncheck it. It checks itself back again. And I think you're supposed to be able to use these gates, use the doors. I eventually actually just gave up. You should be able to use. I think you should be able to use the gates as an access point for people to come through. So yeah, this is me. It's obviously just a shell at the moment, laying the floor down. I realised afterwards I should have flattened the terrain. I'm definitely learning loads as I go ahead. But I'm putting this floor down to kind of cover up the paths. I didn't want to see the paths. I want it to look like proper floor in here. And then I'm separating this section off. I had this kind of idea that sort of inspired by the scene in Jurassic Park where the visitors can see the scientists working on stuff behind the scenes. I don't think this is really going to work, but I thought, can I use the two-way glass or the one-way glass to separate off so guests can come in and they can look through and they can see the guys, the staff members working, but not actually be seen themselves. So maybe that would affect them. I'm pretty sure this isn't going to work because I have since sort of realised that it's actually like the effect that facilities have on guests is actually like a proximity thing, which is a bit of a shame because I sort of think if you build it, if you hide it away, it shouldn't really affect the guests. The guests actually can't see the facilities buildings; they're hidden behind the facades and stuff. So I was sort of hoping that was going to do the effect, but it doesn't really work. So it's supposed to look like a sort of hospital. The initial idea was that it's a research centre, but you'll have seen in the thumbnail that I actually changed it to be like an animal hospital, I think was what I went with. So here's me just kind of filling out we're up to 3 floors now, lifting the floor up from the ground floor up onto this next floor. And it's all still just the shells of the buildings in here at the moment, or the rooms in here. It's a bit of a shame you can't, like, what would be really cool is for them to use some of the, like, so the idea of the null objects thing, sort of that they're boundaries, but you don't have to have a wall, because then we could actually build the shops and the facilities into like bigger areas without having to have their like enclosed rooms, if that makes sense. By this time I've started to mess around with the grids, which I've sort of since realised is something to be careful of. In my, as I said, I'm very much learning, but you'll see that in a second. Is that because I've put this workshop in at the last minute, it's actually off grid, so I have to then adjust the room. So I'm now adjusting the room inside, and then therefore I get a little bit of a ramp, which therefore means that I have to have that floor a bit further upstairs. So it's me copying the floor up to the top floor. And if you get this right, you won't really notice people walking on it. If you just have it just above the paths, it will look normal. Otherwise, if you put it too far down, you see their ankles sort of disappear into it. Now working on the top floor, so I wanted stuff on the roof. The idea was always going to be that there was going to be like solar panels and stuff. Part of it was just experimenting to see if I could do it, which is really cool. This game's got so much like capacity for creativity, is amazing. So here I am up on the roof. I'm building this sort of fire escape, which you'll see me do more of in a bit. Trying around couple of different options with the roof. I think I end up going for like an asphalt up here. Yeah, I think this is what I end up using, or a metal or something. This sort of asphalt thing. I think this is what I end up using. The problem with having things at different heights and different levels is sometimes that you just got to work out. I haven't realised here that this bit I'm actually looking at is my highest point, so I have to go back and delete it and repeat it. But the whole copy and paste function makes this stuff so much easier. So there you go, I've done the roof. And then a lot of the other stuff is, there's a lot more stuff to come up on the roof. So a couple of solar panels coming up here. It's forcing me to use that railing. I don't think I could turn it off. I know that if you use use the staff paths. So I think I went back and fixed that there. But if you use the sort of default path that comes with the utilities building, it forces the railing on you. So just filling out some more inside, little doorway up. So this would be a perfect place where, like, if I could actually use a door that opened. Pretty sure, tell me if I'm wrong, guys, if you've seen the door that functions, but I don't think there are actually doors that open and close in the game other than the habitat ones, which as I showed before very, very briefly, is it whip past in the speed build, that doesn't seem to work as just a sort of standalone thing. There is the checkbox there, so maybe they'll fix that at some point. So yeah, just filling out inside. It's starting to come together now. This was about 5 hours worth of footage. So there's a lot of, you're seeing a lot of cuts here, obviously. Hopefully I haven't made them too jarring, but fixing some paths inside. And then I noticed that the floor is hanging out. I mean, there's sort of, like, this is the beauty of this sort of game, I think. And actually one of the things I love about these sorts of games is that the game forces you to find ways to be creative in order to overcome little challenges and stuff. So here I am just overlapping these windows just to do a new kind of pattern. I can't do it on this side. So I think, okay, well, what can I use that kind of replicates that pattern? And I go and find, any second now. Oh no, this is me doing the roof. Sorry, I do apologise. There's so many little different bits and pieces in this build. So just giving it some textures on the roof. I find these little trim things that look a bit like they're, I don't know, edging or something. Then we're going round with it just felt like it needed a little bit more, so like another little block trim. This is I think the breeze block or the concrete block or something. And then what we're doing next. Oh right, so where I've got the floor protruding through the wall, I don't think there's any way of avoiding that because of the way I've done the floor. So I now need to cover that off. And this actually really is the thing that dictates the overall kind of visual identity of that, because I put this green thing around the outside of it, then I'm like, okay, cool, this is now going to be like an animal hospital rather than a research centre. I think I do, here's some more decorative things. So I've just sort of replicating that metal thing that's around the windows with the steel girders. And I thought that came out pretty well. Just texture really, just to give it a bit more interest. Obviously I've repeated that all over the place. What are we doing next? Speed build. I think we're now just trimming out. The bottom where that floor is coming through again. I'm trying to hide it away. Then we're putting some safety first. So I'm putting some railings up on the roof so that peeps don't fall down. Like, I was totally blown away by the fact that they do actually go up there. They don't really, like, the pathing is pretty awesome in this game. Bit of decoration from the outside and these cool kind of sculptures. Not entirely sure they go together, but I kind of like them. And then what are we doing next? So starting to build the sign. As I said, it was research. I didn't actually realise that there is a small font and a big font. So when I first did this, I was using, I did think of the idea of medical centre or medical something, but I couldn't get it to fit because I was using the big font. So actually, after I've recorded this, I realised, after they did this bit of recording, so I put it up on there, and it just sort of works. It's the idea of what I'm doing. I mean, millions of people have made the signs already. It would be cool if they gave us some more fonts and stuff for this, but I don't know, maybe they won't. And maybe they're just encouraging us to do a silverette and like create your own fonts out of, I don't know, sticks or whatever. So then I'm starting to, I needed something to make it stand out, so I give it a bit of a backing. I can't actually remember what that piece is. I think it's a sign or something. I think it's like a notice board sign. But it's like just a kind of, basically just like a shiny panel, which I thought kind of worked. And it's really cool in this light already. That's me adjusting it, moving it up a bit. Pushity push. So I'm pretty happy with the way that came out. Obviously I completely changed it later on to be Animal Hospital. I don't know if anyone's, any English people watching will know what Animal Hospital is. And slightly controversially after I did this, I realised that Animal Hospital is corrupted by the legacy of Rolf Harris. So one of those stolen childhood moments, but never mind. Some support. So I'm working on this fire escape thing for outside. So some steel girders, a little bit of support. So it's obviously just the path hanging out at the back, but I wanted to make it look kind of like it was supporting a sturdy structure and stuff. So some of these girders, which are really cool pieces, I'm going to use those a lot, I think. And then it needs a railing, I think is what I do next. So grab that railing from up there, stick it down there. And it just like the game has just got so many pieces and so much capacity for using pieces that are not necessary. Like that, they've gone to a point where they get that their community is happy just to kind of experiment and use things that don't necessarily can be reused for different purposes, which I think is really cool. And there's enough there's enough stuff in the game that if you just use things for what they're for, like if you don't you use a lamp as a lamp rather than a cup or something, which you probably could do. That's a bit mad. Then there's like so much stuff that you can use, which is so super cool. And I'm assuming that there's going to be, Planet Coaster had DLC packs and item packs and stuff. So out in the garden now, or out in the front, just doing a little bit of decoration. Like, I'm slightly worried that my detail levels are going to end up killing the game. Like if you watch me in the beta, I made a few videos, but not loads. I end up losing my zoo crashed, and I think that was probably just a bit of beta. Betas be beta, but I'm hoping it wasn't the sort of detail levels I was going to, and that the game can cope for that. Like if you've watched Silverette or you've watched any of those guys, like I'm nowhere near the levels of detail that they're putting in, so I'm pretty confident that I'll be all right. So I'd rather do a smaller park that's got like tons of detail, and I'm really happy with every corner and every little spot, than compromise and make it look a bit sparse and thin. So these are probably going to be, fairly realistic looking parks, I guess. Not too kind of. I'd much rather use the dirt, for example, than just use the ground texture. So that's what I'm doing here. This is the mulch, which is a great word. So just little decorations and little things, just give it some extra depth, really. And then, so this is inside. So this part of the other side of this kind of, the thing I mentioned about the Jurassic Park kind of walkthrough thing, it's supposed to be like an education centre. So you could be looking in at the guys. I'm going to try and work out, if I haven't done it in the video, but I'm going to try and work out if I can, make some sort of examination table or something on the other side of the glass. But at the moment, I'm just putting in some screens. I'm using one of the shop. I think that's a shop front surround, but I've used it on the wall. And then I'm going to mount some screens in there in a second. The unfortunate problem is that you can't, it considers the screens, the TV screens, to be inappropriate education because they're not actually attached to habitat, which is a bit of a shame. Maybe that's one of those. I am playing franchise mode, I didn't mention that, but maybe it's one of those things that it doesn't care about in Sandbox. So we are outside, out the back. So to go back to my thing that I was saying right at the beginning, so part of the point of this medical centre is to have really simple, off the beaten track. So this is not for guests. This is enclosures, habitat areas basically that are more enclosures rather than actually habitats, that I can transfer animals that are in in dire straits into, and they can be immediately cared for away from everyone else. So I used it almost straight away as soon as I built it, because I had a problem with one of my crocodiles. So there's an episode coming up at some point in fairly soon that's about my saltwater crocodiles, and I'm recording these. I've recorded like a load of episodes. I binged as soon as the game came out, and suddenly realised that I'd recorded so many hours of stuff and hadn't actually got around to editing and doing these voiceovers and stuff. So yeah, I used this facility straight away. I had a problem with one of my crocodiles wasn't feeding, and I couldn't work out why. I'm making a little shelter here out of the lamp. That's a lamppost for support. So I just transferred it in here, and it turned out, I think, rather than me wait and figure out why it wasn't feeding, I was able to transfer it into this. I just boxed it up, sent it in here, got it fed, while I was figuring out why it couldn't feed in the actual habitat. And it was just something silly, like it couldn't get to the location. The female could get to the location because it was smaller, where I'd put the enrichment feeder, and the male couldn't get there because it was too big. But yeah, rather than have the crocodile die in that time, I was able to stick it in here. And yeah, so I'm probably going to build, I think I built 2 of these, but they're very similar. And I just kind of like the idea of it, just having. I think you really would have this in a zoo. I mean, I think you probably would have. Maybe they would just close the habitat, but yeah, I just kind of thought this worked quite well. This is me building a lamp, so I couldn't find anything that would work that was big enough for a post. So I used those girders again and just did a rotation on them, and then put another little bit of girder up there. So it's supposed to be like a floodlight, basically. So you'll see it come together in a second. It's a bit fiddly. Things always look so much easier when you've edited it and you're watching the speed build. Like this is, yeah, like 5 hours worth of gameplay in 20 minutes. But I mean, obviously I'm not like entirely adept with the controls and stuff yet, as you can probably see, but I'm getting better. So I think this probably will speed up, but I'm generally always quite a slow builder anyway, because I try something and I look at it and I decide, and I'll come back and I fix something or I fiddle with it. You can see the perimeter fence there actually as well, which I didn't really include in the video, but I did this nice little perimeter fence and some flower boxes and stuff for that. This is me just dressing out this little emergency habitat. Nothing too special. I mean, obviously I'm going to have animals in here fairly briefly, so it doesn't enormously matter what the priority for them to come in here is, because they've got to feed or they've got to drink or something, or I've just got them injured or something like that, or there's like an overrun in the in like their normal habitat. There's too many of something. So that's the plan. And yeah, so it won't really matter what I do in terms of the foliage and stuff, because they won't really be in enough for it to be really a problem. It'd be interesting to see if, and I assume it would, protesters would come in regardless of whether they can actually see. They can't get to these animals in these habitats because they're only accessible by a staff path. But I'm assuming that they probably would still protest somewhere. So yeah, leaving them in here for long term would not be a viable option. So just building some little flower boxes, and then I start to build the second one. There's a little bit of a cut there, or quite a big cut there, which I actually adjusted the size of the. I tried to copy. I tried to make a blueprint of the whole of that enclosure, or that habitat. I keep switching the words, but never mind. And I couldn't really get it to work. Like in the habitat, in the preview of the blueprint, it looked like it was complete, but then when I put it down, it didn't have the little shelter building and the that sort of stuff there. So I had to end up really basically just replicating it. I copied some of it over. I'm now just like slightly adjusting the flower beds and stuff so they don't look like they're identical. And I think we're nearly at the end of the time lapse. So yeah, just make a little sign for these, Unit 1 and Unit 2. And I think there'll probably be more of this. I really just won't show you this, but I'll probably do one for bigger animals and stuff as well at some point. Lettering is pretty cool, and this sort of stuff, it gives me great pleasure to just to play around with these things and be creative with it and stuff. So yeah, let me know what you think, guys. I'll do a little bit of a cinematic at the end, and yeah, I'm just waiting for this to the end. I'm surprised I've managed to talk way through it actually. Like I'm not particularly, like I don't do speed builds that often, and I definitely don't do speed builds that are anywhere near this length. So I hope you guys are still watching, but let me know if you've enjoyed this, because there's loads more already. I've already recorded loads, and I'm absolutely loving this game. So yeah, just trying to match these up so they look like they're consistent. You can't. I mean, obviously that font is kind of playful and stuff, so I thought I'd just keep it kind of nice and soft, and the colours just match into what are on the main building now. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. Just as the sun sets, one of the maintenance guys is up on the roof checking out the windmill. So that's pretty cool. And he's just going to just jump over like a boss, as you do, down onto the fire escape and then glitch through the wall. Never mind. There's not a lot I can do about that, unfortunately. However much it pains me. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all there is to see in this one. It looks so cool at night when you've got like the lights on and the lights in the rooms on and all that sort of stuff. Try not to glitch through the wall here too much, but dudes in the staff room just chilling out. These big staff rooms are pretty cool as well. So yeah, thanks very much for watching, guys. More stuff will be following very soon. I have recorded a bunch. I've just got to make the effort to do the recording, obviously. In order to do that, I need to stop playing. So yeah, thanks very much for watching, guys. If you like what you've seen and you haven't watched my stuff before, then don't forget to subscribe and like and all that good stuff. My name is Toves, and I shall see you again soon. Take it easy.